We're here today with Mark Fischer from the Veterans Conservation Corps, which is a department?
Washington Department of Veterans Affairs program, right?
Washington Department of Veterans Affairs. And Mark, can you tell me what the mission of the Veterans Conservation Corps is?
Sure. I've got to go back a few years, so
Okay.
about 7.5 years ago, some legislation got passed by the Washington State Legislature that enacted the Veterans Conservation Corps. And it was always to be housed under the Washington Department of Veterans Affairs. The mission being to provide veterans with post-traumatic stress an opportunity to do some work with habitat restoration, kind of with the benefit of ecotherapy being the goal there, that they would get some healing by being out in nature, working in nature. So the following year, some additional legislation got added onto that, which made it every veteran eligible to partake in the Veterans Conservation Corps, which was good because we didn't want to limit to just veterans with post-traumatic stress. But there is certainly healing properties in working in restoration work, I think, that makes it viable for any veteran to get involved with. So.
And so the mission then of the organization then becomes to connect with veterans with opportunities to learn about and practice conservation skills towards developing a career.
Right.
That's outstanding.
So that's the third leg of that legislation, which came along a little bit later, which sort of focused on training and employment for veterans in those fields. So it's always been the mission for the last 7.5 years that would be the case. We would find either volunteer opportunities or employment and training opportunities for veterans to get involved with green jobs, restoration work, a variety of things that involve being outside and working outside. So, yeah.
What kind of projects has the VCC done?
So in the early years, it was all volunteers. So we had a lot of contact with Vietnam vets in those days because I'd worked with Vietnam vets for many years. So I'd get them out doing pulling invasive species, working on a community shellfish farm, going out and planting new trees in a place that had been restored. So a variety of projects we did the first couple of years. And then as we got more funding from the legislature, we began working at colleges. So my first project was at Green River Community College with a group of about 30 veterans in a cohort program. They would be going through the natural resources program at Green River Community College, learning something about natural resources, and then on Fridays and Saturdays I'd take them out to do actual projects in order for them to earn their $1,000 a month stipend that they were getting those days. That project went on for a couple of years, and then the new GI Bill came into being, and which the legislature saw as an opportunity to back out of funding that program. But for a couple of years there was a sort of an interesting partnership with Green River Community College Natural Resource Program. So, and a number of those people are still working in the field, which is interesting enough. They got their degrees in natural resources and went on to work for different agencies, ecology, DNR, certain parks, city park programs, and so on and so forth. So,
what kind of projects are on the ground today?
DNR has an interagency agreement, Department of Natural Resources, an interagency agreement with us now we've placed 3 veterans in internships with their biologists or scientists who are working on environmental projects. So the veteran will get a stipend each month. They work under this biologist to get some experience in addition to their degree, whatever they got their degree in. And so hopefully they'll get picked up by ecology or DNR or one of those programs.
I remember seeing one of those postings, and I believe it was for a forester position.
Right.
What other kinds of positions have come up?
So there's a water quality position that's running out of Olympia. There's another position that's a forestry position, and then there's a third one that isn't quite ready to be filled yet, which is up on one of the islands. I think to be sort of a naturalist on an island, working in coordination with another naturalist, basically. So,
you know, I wonder, given the amount of veterans that you have contact with and the projects that we know are out there, what kind of needs do you see these veterans can fulfill for the regional community if there's more ability to make connections between the groups that have needs and veterans who need work?
Well, I think one of the things that you alluded to, agriculture, and so we have a couple of small farm plots that we kind of provide volunteers to to help grow some vegetables for food banks or whatever. I think there's probably a great need for, I hear a lot from veterans that they'd like to get involved in farming or agriculture in some way, and I don't think there's as many opportunities out there as there could be for that sort of connection. Certainly the just going out and working on a farm plot has been useful to a lot of veterans who may have disabilities or maybe retired and just want to go out and do some of that for fun, but there also, I think, there's employment opportunities that are being missed because we're not figuring out how to do this for veterans.
So you still have to work on the connection.
Right.
What kind of opportunities do you see in the future for doing work with both our conservation programs and bringing employment into areas that are seeing, high rates of unemployment, high rates of veteran unemployment?
Right. So a third project, sort of a third leg of our project, is working with energy programs. So we have veterans in solar and wind technician programs. We have veterans that we've helped get into power plant operations, smart grid, electrical engineering that would kind of work with power companies to figure out different ways to provide power to people. And there's a lot of new jobs being created in this whole area. So that's another leg of this. So I see it as sort of environmental restoration, agriculture, energy projects, which are all green jobs basically,
Right.
that veterans really sort of connect with, they are attracted to because they feel like they've got a new mission and they can do something meaningful in society rather than go work at the local barista stand or wherever it is that people get hired these days. They would like to be participating in something that's more meaningful to the culture, I think. So
I think it's a big shift that we've seen as agriculture has become, basically technology and corporate driven. We've lost a huge number of people out of the agriculture sector, and
Right.
it's been a lateral, if not downward, shift to the kind of service sector jobs that you're talking about that require maybe some technical skills, but not a wealth of knowledge about the environment, and so the environment gets undervalued, and then there starts, we see problems when the value of the environment isn't recognized and acted on.
Right.
Where does VCC go from here in its work to, kind of realize the end of having a state that has a robust economy and ecology?
Right. Again, I think it's really having to push uphill, sort of like the salmon going up the stream. We've had to push uphill the whole last 7.5 years because there's not been a lot of forward momentum by state or federal agencies or by industry necessarily to support this. So we've kind of tried to find small pathways. And I think small farms may be the answer to what you're talking about. Small farmers, small farms, rather than trying to get involved with the larger system of agriculture. And it's the same sort of way with what we're trying to do with energy and also with environmental restoration. How do we, in small ways, get veterans involved in this so that maybe down the road there'll be some changes in the systems. But right now, fighting the systems has been a difficult task, as you may already know.
Well, hopefully we can figure out a way that we can get past the fighting and just start farming.
Right, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Mark, thank you so much for taking time with us.
Thank you, Destan. All right.